At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you today's guest speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Adam Pawlosky. Lieutenant Colonel Adam Pawlosky is the commander of the Kansas Army National Guard Recruiting and Retention Battalion. Lieutenant Colonel Pawlosky was born in New York City and grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He attended The Ohio University and received a Bachelor of Science in Communications and commissioned as a second lieutenant in June of 2005, earning the distinction of Distinguished Military Graduate. He was branched armor and began active duty service. After completing the Maneuver Officer Basic Course, Lieutenant Colonel Pawlosky was assigned to 1st Battalion, 13th Armor, 1st Armored Division at Fort Riley, Kansas, where he served as an operations officer. Shortly after arriving at Fort Riley, Lieutenant Colonel Pawlosky was transferred to 2nd Squadron, 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment at Fort Hood, Texas, where he served as a tank platoon leader, a scout platoon leader, executive officer, and operations officer. He deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom from November 2007 to January 2009. Upon completion of his active duty service, Lieutenant Colonel Pawlosky accepted a commission with the Kansas Army National Guard. Since joining the Kansas Army National Guard, Lieutenant Colonel Pawlosky has served as an officer candidate school TAC officer and company commander, armor company commander, administration officer, combined arms battalion operations officer, combined arms battalion executive officer, officer personnel manager, executive officer to the Adjutant General of Kansas, Kansas Army National Guard manpower manager, and rear detachment commander for the 1st Battalion, 635th Armor. His most recent deployment was to Kuwait in 2017 as the 2137th Combined Arms Battalion Executive Officer in support of Operation Spartan Shield. Lieutenant Colonel Pawlosky holds a master's degree in organizational psychology from Kansas State University and is a graduate of the U.S. Army Command and General Staff Officer School. Lieutenant Colonel Pawlosky's awards and decorations include the Bronze Star Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, the Air and Space Force Commendation Medal, Combat Action Badge, and Air Assault Badge. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Colonel Pawlosky.
Wow, thank you. Colonel Ferguson, Sergeant Major Fassett, I really appreciate you giving me the honor of speaking here today. Make sure I can get my technology working. To the Army National Guard's latest recruiting and retention NCOs, congratulations. 5 weeks anywhere is a long time. 5 weeks at an Army school is an even longer time. And 5 weeks at PEC is an eternity. I fully recognize that the only thing between you and getting to start your trip home is me, so I promise to be brief. But it wouldn't be an Army school if you didn't have to listen to some person give a speech about something you probably don't care about at a graduation ceremony you probably don't want to be at. And for what it's worth, I'm honored to be that person today. I don't know if I'm going to say anything you haven't heard before or anything that's revolutionary, but I think what I'm going to say is important. And believe it or not, I've been thinking about this speech for several weeks now. I struggled to come up with a topic. So naturally, like any good officer, I went to an NCO to ask some advice. I said, hey, CSM, I'm going to be giving the graduation speech at SQI4. How about I talk about how the recruiter on the street has the most important job in the Army? How about I talk about the fact that without the recruiter on the street, our Army doesn't exist? I can mention the recruiter is the foundation for our all-volunteer force, and that they bear more of the burden for the nation's defense than any one individual in the Department of Defense. I could go on and on about the recruiter being the face of the Army, about the recruiter being the Army's ambassador to communities, schools, churches, civic organizations, and people they pass on the street. I could wax poetically about how the future of our Army and the very future of our country depend on the job you're doing and doing it well. You know, I said all that, and my sergeant major got real quiet. She looked me dead in the eye and said, nah, don't do that. I laughed and I said, why not? She kind of chuckled and said, sir, they've heard all that before. That's exactly what every SQI4 graduation speaker talks about. So I'm not going to do that. But unfortunately for you, that doesn't mean my speech is over. What I want you to do is take a few seconds and think back to that first moment your recruiter called you, visited you in high school, came up to you at an event, or sent you a text message. that recruiter that set you on this journey. At that moment, whether you knew it or not, your life was about to change. Think about the way you felt. Did you immediately dismiss the idea about joining the Army? Did you throw up some objection or blow them off? Did you get excited about the idea or scared or anxious? Whatever you felt, you worked through the enlistment process, you made it through MEPS, and you became a soldier in the United States Army. From there, every one of you has a story. Some of your stories led you to active duty, where you moved across the country one or more times and spent days or weeks in the field. Some of you joined a unit in your state and mobilized to Europe, the Horn of Africa, or Kuwait. I would bet some of you even met your spouse in the Army, and I know that all of you have made lifelong friends. The point is, your life changed because of an Army recruiter. Because of your recruiter, you are sitting here today. Because of your recruiter, you have a full-time job, or you might have even started a family. The bottom line is you are a changed person, and that change was for the better. That's what I want you to remember. You haven't volunteered to enlist soldiers in the Army. You have volunteered to change lives. Some are out there in Kansas, Texas, New York, Alaska, Oklahoma, or California. There's a young man or woman that doesn't know they will meet you sometime in the near future. You will set that person on their Army journey. You will change them. You're going to help them become stronger physically and mentally and even smarter. You're going to be with them when they take their first step on their path to become soldiers in the best Army in the world. There are very few professions that have a direct impact on a single human life the way that Army recruiting does, the way that you all do. And that impact will have exponential growth. Now, I'm guessing there's probably around 195 of you in this class. And I'm assuming that when you go back to your states, you're probably going to have an average mission of about 12 enlistments per year. So over the next year, the soldiers in this room are going to change 2,340 lives. Over the next 3 years, the soldiers in this room are going to change 7,020 lives. Those 7,000 people will write their own Army story that involves training, mobilization, or falling in love. Their Army story can involve saving someone from a flood, rescuing a child from the rubble of a tornado, or saving a family's home from a wildfire. If you look at the sequence of events that put that soldier at that exact location at that time, it starts right here, right now with you. It's going to start with you making a phone call or asking a stranger, do you want to join the Army National Guard? When it gets tough out there, and it will get tough, remember the next person you talk to could be the one to save somebody's life in the future. What you do is not about making mission. It's not about special duty pay, and it's not about badges. What you do is about changing lives. And changing lives is not comfortable. I know every one of you in this room wants to achieve success. You want to be the best. But being the best will not come quickly, comfortably, or safely. It's just not possible. Success only comes from being uncomfortable. Success comes through discipline, commitment, and consistency. Discipline is training your mind not to care if it's hard, or it hurts, or it sucks. If it needs to get done, it gets done. If you need to make 100 phone calls to set one appointment, that's what you do. Start dialing, be committed. Because commitment isn't a feeling, it's a choice. It's showing up when you don't feel like it. It's doing the hard work when no one's watching. It's staying loyal to the process, not just the outcome. And that's the difference between average and great. That's the difference between changing lives and not changing lives. You have to stick with it and be consistent. Because consistency is for the committed. It's not a choice or feeling either. It's a requirement. I can't stand here and guarantee that you'll all be successful. But I can guarantee if you're not committed and consistent, you'll fail. It's not that what you do once in a while that matters. It's what you do every single day. Be all into changing lives. Relate every decision you make about getting up on time, working out, prospecting, and building packets to changing someone's life. That's what it means to be a recruiter. And if changing lives is important to you, you will find a way to do it. You will not find an excuse. Excuses are the enemy of excellence. Success belongs to those who push past limits, not to those who hide behind them. Don't tell me why you can't. Don't tell your commanders back in your state why you can't. Show me how you will, show them how you will. Show your section chiefs, your company commanders, and your battalion leadership that you want to make mission, that you want to man the force, and that you want to change lives. Congratulations on successfully completing this course and earning the badge. Now go out and change lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, thank you for your time, your wisdom, and those inspiring words.